Hello everyone, my name is Adeyemi Oluwadimilade Debra, the creator of Compass 7.0, and this video is going to be the first in a two-part series involving calculations on longitude and latitude. I had mentioned earlier in a video on secrets necropractical that I'm going to be making a video to explain these concepts in detail, as it is a question you'll see in your theory and objectives, as you must have noticed in previous years. Without wasting any more time, let's get on to the video. Latitude is the measurement of a location north or south of the equator. They are imaginary lines running from east to west of the Earth's surface. I know some people may be confused now. Are the latitudes running from east to west or north to south, or where are they going? But don't worry, I'm going to illustrate this for you. First, let me define a key word that is in the definition that most of you might be conversant with, the word equator. This is an imaginary line that divides the Earth into two equal halves, which is the northern and the southern hemispheres. So imagine you have an orange and you get a knife and cut it horizontally into two equal halves. That line dividing it into those two equal halves is the equator. And as you can see, this line runs from east to west. But we also have other lines of latitudes that are above the equator to the north and below the equator to the south. So even though they tell the location of a place north or south of the equator, they run from east to west. Now let's discuss the functions of lines of latitude. Functions of lines of latitude. 1. They are used to calculate the distance between two places on the Earth's surface, and this is the basis of what you'll be tested on in calculations. Number 2. Latitude and longitude lines work together to provide precise geographical positions on atlas maps. So that is, both the latitude and longitude coordinates intersect to define the exact location on a map. For example, let's take Nigeria. Nigeria is located between latitude 4 degrees to 14 degrees north and longitude 3 degrees to 15 degrees east. Important lines of latitude. The most important one from which the others are referenced, as we've mentioned earlier, is the equator, which is at 0 degrees. And then moving towards the north, we have the Tropic of Cancer on latitude 23.5 degrees north and the Arctic Circle on latitude 66.5 degrees north. Then at the very top, we have the North Pole, which is where Santa Claus lives. Moving south of the equator, we have the Tropic of Capricorn on 23.5 degrees south and the Antarctic Circle on latitude 66.5 degrees south. And at the very bottom of the Earth, we have the South Pole on latitude 90 degrees south. And this is very important. You need to know how to draw all these lines of latitude, and you need to know the values corresponding to each of them. Now let's move on to calculations on latitude. Now, these are the principles that are going to help you when solving calculations on latitude. The first one, if the two places in question are in the same hemisphere, that is, both of them are located in the north, then we are going to subtract their latitudes from each other. But if they are located in different hemispheres, that is, maybe one is located in the north while the other is in the south, then we are going to add their latitudes together. The latitudes are given in degrees, and so hence we're going to have to convert them to kilometers, because remember that one of the first functions of latitude is that used to calculate distance, and distance is not measured in degrees. And hence, the formula you should never forget is 1 degree is equals to 111 kilometers. Remember that for latitudes, we're only dealing with north and south. So now let's take questions from past examinations. What is the distance between the two places on the surface of the Earth which are located on 8 degrees north and 10 degrees south on the same longitude? So as you can see, the values in degree that we've been given are related to north and south. So immediately we can tell that those are latitudes. And those latitudes are located on the same longitude as the question says. But you just need to ignore that for now, because that's not going to affect the calculations. We're not talking about longitude. We're only going to focus on latitude. So first, let's identify the two places in question. When solving this question, you don't need to draw the Earth and indicate these places like I did, because firstly, it's an objective question. So there's no need for all this ceremony, or it's going to waste your time. I only illustrated it to make it easier to explain, because the purpose of this step is just to know where the places are located, specifically whether they are located in the north or the south or on the equator. So as it's seen in the question, both the places are located in different hemispheres. And if you remember our principles we just saw, for different hemispheres, that means we're going to do what? Add. Now let's calculate. So now that we know the distance between the two places is 18, after adding them together, we recall that options in kilometers. So we need to convert these degrees that we have here to kilometers. And the formula you should never forget for latitude is 1 degree is equals to 111 kilometers. So therefore, 18 is going to equals to this. And so our final answer, the distance between the two places is 1,998 kilometers, which is option B. Calculate the distance between town Y, which is on latitude 40 degrees north, and town Z, which is on latitude 10 degrees south. As you can see, the places are located on different latitudes. So that means that we're going to add. So now that we know our distance between the two places as 50 degrees, we're calling that options are in kilometers. To convert degrees to kilometers, the formula we need is 1 degree is equals to 111 kilometers. So therefore, 50 degrees is going to be equals to. And with that, our final answer, the distance between the two places, town Y and town Z, is 5,550 kilometers, which is option D. Calculate the distance between the equator, latitude 0, and a city Z in Egypt, latitude 30 degrees north. So this is different from the last two questions we've solved because one of the places on the equator. Now, in some questions, they can just give you the equator without the value because they expect you to know that the equator is on latitude 0 degrees. So in all cases, you may not be as kind to get a question like this. So the principle I gave you earlier for the scenario relating to this question is add or subtract. In this case, we are going to add them together, and this is what happens with most equator questions. You can just ignore the subtraction part because when you do that, you are still going to get the same answer, just that your answer is going to be negative. Recalling that options are in kilometers, so to convert degrees to kilometer, the formula we should never forget is 1 degree is equals to 111 kilometers. So therefore, 30 will be equals to. And so our final answer, the distance between the two places is 3,330 kilometers, which is option C. Which of the following lines of latitudes divides the Earth into two hemispheres? If you are paying attention at the beginning, you already know the answer to this question, as I made this statement when defining the most important line of latitude, the equator. So the correct answer is option C. What is the latitude of the Antarctic Circle? This question is testing whether I can remember important lines of latitude. So as we can see, option C is the answer. Make sure not to mix up Antarctic Circle with the Arctic Circle. If they wanted to confuse you, they could have given you some funny options like this or this, but at the end of the day, the answer still remains the same. Remember that for latitude, we are only dealing with north and south. Two towns, P and Q, are on the international date line and in the same hemisphere. If the distance between the two towns is 444 kilometers and town P is located on latitude 3 degrees north, on what latitude is town Q located? This question is different from the ones we've solved, but it's not difficult. You just need to calm down. So let's identify the parameters we are given. The distance between the two towns P and Q is 444 kilometers. Town P is on latitude 3 degrees north. Now the unknown is what we're looking for, so I'm going to represent that with X. That's town Q. So we're looking for what latitude is located on. As stated in the question, both town Q and P have their latitudes in the same hemisphere. That is the northern hemisphere. So since both of them are in the north, the principle guiding this will be subtraction. So we can say that x degrees north minus 3 degrees north is equals to 444 kilometers. I'm assuming that x is greater than 3 degrees, but if the rest is the case, the value is still going to be the same. It's just that it's going to come out with a negative answer. So looking at this equation, we can see that 444 kilometers is the odd one out in terms of units. So now we have to convert these kilometers to degrees, and with that, we're going to use the formula that I've been hammering on since the beginning of the video. 1 degree is equals to 111 kilometers. Therefore, 444 kilometers will be equals to 4 degrees. But that is not our final answer. The funny thing is that it's even part of the option, so a student can easily fall into the trap. So now we can write our earlier equation as x degrees north minus 3 degrees north is equals to 4 degrees north. And so to bring all the like terms to one side so that x can stand on its own, we have x as 7 degrees. And so town Q is located on latitude 7 degrees north, which is option B. While option C would have been the answer a student who was maybe rushing or not thorough with their calculations would have picked with confidence and failed this simple question. Which of the following statements is accurate? You should be able to answer this question if you've been paying attention from the beginning of the video and made notice of a certain formula that I kept mentioning. 1 degree is equals to 111 kilometers. So that makes option A the correct answer, even though most of you may not be sure what the remaining options are, but you are very sure that A is correct. Option B and C will be mentioned in the part 2 of this video on calculations on longitude, while option D is related to rotation and revolution of the Earth, specifically equinox and solstice. And you have to know the date when they occur, as there will be objective questions testing this fact alone. Option D is wrong because the sun is overhead the Tropic of Cancer on June 21st, resulting in the summer solstice. While on December 22nd, the sun is overhead the Tropic of Capricorn, resulting in the winter solstice. The distance between town A located on latitude 30 degrees south and town B located on latitude 30 degrees north is. So now I want you to pause this video and attempt this question yourselves. I'm assuming you have your answers now. So let's solve it together. Since they are located on different latitudes, the principle we'll be using is addition. Now that we know the distance between the two towns A and B are 60 degrees, recalling that options are in kilometers, we need to convert degrees to kilometers. And so the formula we use is 1 degree is equals to 111 kilometers. So therefore 60 degrees will be equals to 6,660 kilometers, which is option B. The distance between town A located on latitude 30 degrees south and town B located on latitude 30 degrees north is. So now I want you to pause this video here and attempt this question yourselves. Okay, now I'm assuming you have your answers, so let's solve it together. Since they are located on different latitudes, the principle we'll be using is addition. Which of the following is an important line of longitude? You should be able to attempt this question yourselves. I'm assuming you guys chose option C. Now, the main reason why C was the clear answer is that all the other options are lines of latitude. So even though you are not sure what C means, because of what we've learned in this video, you'll be able to eliminate all the other options since you know that they are not longitudes, since you've not even learned that at all in this video. In the next video, we're going to be learning about option C, so don't worry about that. Now let's take one last question, and it's a theory question. Draw an outline of the Earth and show the following: the equator, Tropic of Cancer, and the Antarctic Circle. You can also attempt this by yourself. Just take a paper beside you now and quickly draw this. So the diagram should look like this: the 3 lines of latitude asking the question, Tropic of Cancer, equator, and the Antarctic Circle. And let's not forget to add their values. Now let's compare with our beautiful picture that we've been using. Apart from the formula 1 degree is equals to 111 kilometers that I've been mentioning throughout the video, this picture showing the key lines of latitude is something that you must know by heart, as well as the values of each of the latitudes, and make sure not to mix them up, whether the positions are in the south or the north or the Arctic and the Antarctic Circle. So you can take a screenshot to memorize them. That brings us to the end of the first part of this video on lines of latitude. The next video is going to be on calculations on longitudes, which I would like to say is much more important. And this is because more questions are asked both in the objectives and theories on calculations involving longitude. In the past 10 years, only one question has been asked on lines of latitude in theory, and it was a sub-question, and it wasn't even a calculation question as we have earlier seen. But calculations involving longitude have been asked in the theory of WAEC and NECO as well, so make sure to turn on your notifications. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.